Little did Olga Benário know. This day in 1935 would change the shape of two lives and expose a brutal transatlantic conspiracy. She arrived in Brazil as a young German Jewish communist, a Comintern trained courier whose assignment was simple on paper: protect and accompany Luís Carlos, the charismatic leader of Brazil's communist left, as he returned clandestinely to foment revolution. In real life, it was anything but simple. Context matters. Brazil was under Getúlio Vargas, who had consolidated power after 1930 and bent state institutions to his will. Across Europe, fascism and Nazism were tightening their grip. Against that doubled backdrop, Olga and Prestes, one a disciplined operative, the other a veteran of the Prestes column and the country's most visible revolutionary exile, found in each other a private refuge. Their bond was forged in secrecy. Shared false papers. Midnight rendezvous, whispered plans. The romance that bloomed was urgent and political, a human insistence amid conspiracies and police files. Tension rose as 1935 became 1936. The Brazilian state's intelligence apparatus, fearful of uprisings, intensified surveillance. Agents infiltrated communist cells. Friends were turned into informants. The government staged arrests and executed preventive detentions meant to strangle the movement. In June 1936, Olga and Prestes were cornered and arrested. Olga was pregnant. That fact alone should have triggered international protections, but the conspiracy was already unfolding. Here is the conspiracy in clear terms. The Vargas regime, eager to root out communism and curry favor with both conservative Brazilian elites and authoritarian European regimes, colluded with Nazi Germany to deport Olga, rather than treat her as a detainee, entitled to due process, or allow the child to be born and raised safely in Brazil. Officials fast-tracked diplomatic arrangements to hand her to the Reich. The Brazilian courts and executive branches subordinated legal norms to political expediency. Police records were redacted, petitions ignored, pleas for leniency dismissed. That collusion breached not only Olga's human rights, but exposed a transnational pact in which anti-communist politics trumped basic humanity. The documentary trail is stark. Olga's dissentient papers, the notes of interrogations, the diplomatic cables later made public by historians show the decision was not accidental. Brazilian ministers rationalized deportation by citing her nationality. German officials, by then implementing racialized repression, welcomed her return. Olga was sent to Germany in 1936 while still pregnant. Her child, Anita, was separated from her and raised apart. Olga's last known years were in Nazi custody. Moved through prisons and then to the Ravensbrück concentration camp, where she was murdered in 1942. Meanwhile, survived politically and lived to tell part of the story. He would never forget Olga. Their brief love had been a lodestone, a witness to the betrayal of liberal institutions by authoritarian fear. The fate of their daughter would haunt Brazilian memory for decades. Anita Leocadia grew up to become a historian who later reclaimed fragments of her mother's life in archives and testimony. Her work helped expose the legal and diplomatic machinations that had sent Olga into the maw of Nazi terror. This is not only a romance traced in lovers' letters and clandestine meetings. It is a case study in how states conspire across borders to silence enemies, and in how a private love can illuminate public crimes. Olga and Prestes loved in the shadow of revolution and repression. Their story shows how a regime's conspiracy, an alliance of paranoia, diplomatic cynicism, and racialized politics could erase a human being. Yet, memory survives. Through archives, testimonies, and the courage of those who refuse to forget. Olga's story became a moral indictment, and the romance she shared with Prestes a human face to a grim history.